Welcome back, everyone, to A Gentleman's Life. Sam here again. A little casual today. Spent the day this afternoon over checking out a local CrossFit gym that I'm looking at joining once my wrist heals up. Which wrist check, and you can see here on my my cast-wrapped arm, we have the Omega Speedmaster Professional. I am using it on the kind of nylon and Velcro, what I would call the spacesuit strap that comes with it, which actually fits around the cast. And yeah, I can't take this watch off right now. It is absolutely adore it. It is probably the most well-rounded watch I've ever worn, without a doubt. So wearing that again this evening. Today we're going to be looking at a micro brand diver. I'm going to be reviewing the Borealis Sea Dragon, which is a dive watch from the Borealis micro brand. They're out of Portugal. It's a little 1 or 2 person setup. It's a little bit of a departure from my normal fare, but I thought it'd be interesting to take a look. So without further ado, I will switch the camera around and we will take a look at the Sea Dragon. Alright, so here we are. We'll start with just a look at the website. So here you can see the Sea Dragon, and there are 4 different color variations. So you can see this gray dial with orange, black with orange, a bright orange dial, and then what I'm going to be looking at is this white silver dial with blue. So if we go and look at that, you can see it started at $315. They have it right now listed as on sale for $265. And here is the Sea Dragon. So it is a 300 meter dive watch, automatic, using the Miyota 9015. It is in the typical 316L stainless steel. It comes with both a rubber strap and a leather strap, and has a number of different color variations, as mentioned. We'll get into that a bit in a moment. But the basic ones here to look at is it is a 44 millimeter case, lug to lug being 50.5, so 50 and a half. It does have an inside AR coating, 120 click bezel, and lug width of 22 millimeters for your straps, and it's 12.5 millimeters tall. So those are the actual main statistics. Oh, and it does use the BGW9 Superluminova for a lume on both the dial and bezel. So without further ado there, let's get on to the watch itself. So here it comes packaged, really simple packaging. Like I said, it's a really small company. So you can see here we've got just a typical simple box with a pillow inside, and then your really simple instruction manual / warranty. And as you can see, really simple. And then at the very back, so I'm trying to use one-handed with my cast on, we have your warranty information. And then here we have the watch itself and the extra straps. So first, the leather strap that comes with it. You can see here, nice thick chocolate brown with a pretty well done signed buckle. And then you have the rubber strap that I have on it, also the signed buckle. So you can see there it also says Borealis on it. And then a nice rubber strap, which is a good quality in my opinion. And then the watch itself. So you can see here it has a shroud type case, much like you would see with a Seiko Monster. And then here we have the white dial, and you can see it ticking away there. You have the date at the 4 o'clock, cut out white on white, which is nice. And you can see the Superluminova on the hands and hour markers, and then in the bezel, with the blue accents around the hours markers as a bit of a detail. Kind of reminds you a little bit of a sort of like a Doxa or something like that. So it's kind of like a cross to me between a Doxa and a Seiko Monster. The 120 click bezel is really nice. You can see here. Moves really nice. Just a little bit of play, but very little. Has a nice click to it. The loom and the cutouts there is pretty good. We'll get that better on a close-up view. You can see it is more or less a white to slightly more or less just a white dial with the 4 kind of crosshairs coming out from your 12, 3, 6, and 9 o'clock. Nice and plain, no texture or anything, with limited text, which is nice, very clean. Given the kind of detailing that is around the hour markers, it's nice to have a clean center of the dial with just Borealis, and then 300 meters automatic down at the bottom. So definitely a little bit different and a bit of a departure from some of what you see a lot of times in micro brands, which are like direct homages to Rolex and Tudor and that sort of thing. Doing something a little bit different here. Some other details that are kind of nice in this regard. You do have the crown at 4 o'clock, which is signed with a B, polished with a signed B. You have this nice brushed case, as mentioned, with these little polished beveled edges, which is really nice there. And then also, you can see they have drilled lugs, which is really nice for the strap changes. That seems to be pretty rare as well. So that is nice also. And then as you switch it over, you can see they did a lightly engraved case back. Borealis, I've been told, puts the mermaid in all of them. And you can see it says Borealis Watch Company. 300 meters, 990 feet. And then it has the Miota 9015 movement listed. So what I would like to do now, more importantly here, is get into the close-up view, macro view, and then we can switch over to the wrist shot and I can give you my overall thoughts. All right. Okay. So we've got the macro lens on, and we're just going to kind of get this a bit better in the light for everybody. We're going to get up nice and close here. Have a look at the dial. So as you can see here, the printing, as mentioned, on that nice plain white dial is really nice. In that black, you can see the Borealis really well printed. And the crosshairs there coming out of the 12, also very nice. The 9, 6. There you can see the 300 meters automatic. Let's look at the date window. You can see it is just cut out, which is a little disappointing to me. I would have liked to have seen more of a framed date window there versus a straight cutout. But for $300, that really isn't that surprising. And you can see it goes right up to the hour marker, which is a little interesting. Speaking of the hour markers, if we go up to the 12, we'll start there with the hour markers. You can see the nicely applied loom in the center there with the blue surround that matches that second hand. And then you can see just on the outside of these hour markers, you have the second track with the 60, 5, and 10. So every 5 seconds it puts the seconds on the outside, which is nice. And then it also has the actual second markers there as well as it goes around. And you can see how at the 12 and the 3 and then the 6 and the 9 you have a little bit larger hour markers than at the other hours. But really well printed all the way around, so that's nicely done. Let's look at the hands. So you can see kind of the interestingly shaped hands. You have this gloss black in the middle. And then for the second hand, you can see this loom pip with this matching blue for the hour markers. And then going down, you can see the hour hand is this kind of rectangle with a split in half with the little pointer coming out of the end there. And then the minute hand is just an elongated, slightly thinner rectangle, again with a point coming out. So well executed, something just a little bit different than what you usually see. And then looking at the bezel, you can see there at the 12 o'clock point we have just a loomed triangle. So it's kind of nice, I think, seeing just a triangle and a departure from the actual loom pip itself. And you can see the cutouts here are pretty well done. Pretty good machining there, and then the brushed stainless steel surface surrounding them, and the numbers. So you can see those are nicely done. And then going outside of the surround, you can kind of see here, nice thick grip you get. And I will say that this is actually easier to turn than your Seiko Monster, because they give you they have the spaces around the surround for turning the bezel, and longer or wider open spaces to turn the bezel, and it's better spaced so that your fingers more naturally turn it there. Now looking at the case itself, mostly brushed, but let's see if I can get it in the light a little bit better for you. So you can see the nice brushing on the top of the lugs there, as well as the side. And then that polished beveling there on the lugs. It's a nice detail that you don't often see in some of these micro brand divers, so I thought that was really nice. And I actually really like the machining. These screws that are in the shroud, I think, are a really nice touch and kind of give it that interesting tool-like feel. And as you can see here, again, the really nice brushing. So I really like that. We'll switch around and have a look at the crown. I apologize for the shaky camera work, everyone. I am trying to work with that hand, my hand in a cast, and it's not the easiest, so please bear with me. Again, the polished and the brushed there. And then here you have the crown. Decent grip there. Polished all around the crown with the nice cutout of the B for Borealis. I will say that, let me set this down for a second. I'm going to unscrew the crown. This is a Miyota 9015, which many of you know that movement pretty well. So you can see here, I've unscrewed the crown, and it has kind of this protected area around it. And what I wanted to show, which I can't with one hand because of the cast, is that the crown does have a decent amount of crown wobble when it's pulled out, which is a little disappointing, but given the movement used, it's not really a surprise. Screw the crown back in really quick, and we'll have a look at the case back. Okay, on the case back here. So you can see it is a lightly engraved. You can see that the it's kind of blasted, and then the part, the mermaid that's engraved out is brushed, which is really kind of interesting and a nice little detail. And you can see the Borealis Watch Company, depth rating, and the movement. And you can see it's a screw-down case back, nicely brushed. It would be nice if the engraving was a little bit deeper, but not a surprise there. So, my overall thoughts on the watch. Actually, for a micro brand diver, which is not something I normally do, I actually quite like it and think it's got quite a bit of personality. And I think it compares very favorably to Seiko Monster. I think the Monster is a bit more of a, if I can use the term, iconic design. However, I think the Borealis is actually a slightly better watch, much due to the movement. I just like the 9015 slightly better than Seiko's 4R movement. I like the bezel and shroud on the Borealis a little bit better. However, I do like the overall design stylistically of the Monster a little bit better. So, to be honest, I think they compare very favorably. And if you're in the market for a Monster type of diver, I think the Borealis would be another decent one to consider. One thing to consider is the 1-year warranty on the Borealis and the very small brand being a micro brand, and if future security and the warranty and servicing from the company that sold it to you is something that matters to you, the Seiko is a better way to go. This is something you probably just have to take to any other watchmaker and have them service. So let me get a quick wrist shot, get out my wrist and get a wrist shot for you, and then we'll turn it back around. All right, here we are. So you can see fits really nicely to the wrist, and even on my barely over 6-inch wrist, you can see it actually fits quite well. Fits pretty flush to my wrist. The lugs don't really go over, and the case is well designed to fit a wide variety of wrists in that way. So if you're looking for that kind of sporty, chunky, shrouded diver, this is a good way to go. So that is a look at the Borealis Sea Dragon, as mentioned. Hope you all enjoyed that. My final thoughts. Generally, I don't go for micro brand divers, mostly because the companies are mostly using either Miyota or Seiko movements. They're all having their cases and everything built and then put together. The watch is put together in China and shipped to wherever their company is, where then they check, box, package, and sell the product. But what this does, I think, is it really limits the amount of control they have, the amount of creativity they can have, because they're not producing their own products, so that there's only so much they can do in either design or control they can have over what type of product they're going to produce. So I find that is a limiting factor. That's not to say that there is not a place for micro brand watches, and I think some really interesting designs have come from some micro brands, and some really interesting things have been done by some micro brands. However, with what I'm looking for in watches, they don't usually fit what I'm looking for. So if you're just looking for an interesting, $200 to $500 price range watch that's a little bit different, not something you're going to see every day, then something like this, an interesting micro brand diver, might be the way to go. For me, it's not going to be, but that's not to say this doesn't have its place. I think this design is overall was well executed. The case was well executed. With the exception of a couple things here or there, like the date window, I can't really come up with any major faults for this product. It's just that I would rather spend my personal money on something else. So that's really what it comes down to. But if you're in the brand for a Citizen or a Seiko or something in that price range, like your Seiko Monsters, your Citizen Nighthawk, etc., something like this may just be more interesting to you, and then go for it. All power to you, because they are well-made, quality watches with a strong, robust movement inside. So I guess those are kind of my final thoughts on the matter. Micro brands are what they are, and sometimes they do really great things, and sometimes they can be a little bit disappointing, and it just depends on which specific model and brand you've chosen. This one's not bad, and I think I can give it a stamp of approval, even if it's not a keeper for me. Moving on from that, channel going forward, I'm going to be working on a video in the next day or so, just a bit more about myself for my viewers. I've had quite a few new viewers join lately, and a couple other channels I watch. One is KDP Ross, another is Bruce Williams. Have done a couple of videos, just kind of a get to know them videos, which I thought were interesting and enjoyable to listen to and better understand where they're coming from in their watches. Because I think understanding a person's background and what they're about really gives an interesting insight into the watches they choose and the type of collection they build. So I want to do one of those videos, and I'm planning and prepping one of those coming up this week. And then, of course, more watch reviews for the number of watches I'm going to sell due to the purchase of the Omega Speedmaster. And then I'm also going to get a couple other videos put together, one of which coming up is going to be a video of kind of my travel essentials. If I'm going to fly somewhere for a weekend or have to run out quick on business, what are the essentials I make sure I have in my bag that I carry on the plane with me? So that's all what you guys can expect coming up. I hope you enjoyed the video. I am still a little bit drugged up on some painkillers, so hopefully the camera work wasn't too bad and I actually made sense when I was speaking. But yeah, hope you enjoyed it. Until next time.